The nurse told me that if she takes it from my nose, it's more accurate. If she takes it from my cheek, I might get a false positive. A false positive, it's either detecting a virus there or it's not.
Hey guys, how we doing? I'm gonna get to the video in a minute. I'm just doing a little bit of research myself because when I was never planning on taking this test, I really was not, and so I never even looked into it, which again is, you know, would it have changed my mind? I don't know. I mean, right now, as I'm reading about it, it definitely is making me go, oh God, I just volunteered a piece of my genetics, and what does that consent to them taking a sample, what does that mean? Even though I crossed out the part on the sheet where they requested permission to use it for genetic tests and stuff like that and research, I crossed that out void. It was only supposed to detect the presence of COVID-19, SARS-CoV-2. But as I read more and more, like on the contract itself, it talked about genetic testing. Like that was the first red flag that went up. It's like genetic testing. Like, I mean, it's one thing to test for a virus, but I've never heard of it as genetic testing before. So have they always been genetic tests? I don't know. But as I go through and I start kind of looking for new information, there's some really interesting things that I come across as far as genetic testing. In this test, the goal is to selectively amplify trace amounts of genetic material, identifying specific parts of DNA. Just a reminder, DNA is the genetic code that is present in every cell in the body. When a cell divides, it copies DNA, separating the two strands and then creating a new strand of DNA by copying the template. But there's a wrinkle: PCR only works on DNA, and the COVID-19 virus uses RNA as its genetic code. RNA is similar to DNA, but only has a single strand. Fortunately, viral enzymes to convert RNA to DNA were discovered decades ago and have been harnessed. Along with PCR to find unique structures in RNA too. Basically, what this is saying is that viral enzymes can change RNA into DNA, meaning they can literally change your DNA. What that means for getting a test and them having a sample, and again, it's not that I don't believe that they probably already have a sample before. If you've ever had surgery, they've got plenty of samples. If you've ever had blood tests, you've got plenty of samples. So, I mean, unless you were never going to go to a hospital again, you most likely, and that's what's going on now. Like, everybody around me is like, well, I've had to have COVID tests already. I've had dozens of them because I go to the hospital. So if you go to a hospital, they're collecting DNA there. Now, you do have the right under the Patient Bill of Rights, which is one thing that came out of Obamacare. The Patient Bill of Rights says you do not have to submit to a test for medical treatment. So don't stop yourself from going to the hospital because you think you're going to get a test. You can use the Patient Bill of Rights. Do your research, go look it up, print it out, and take it with you and put them on notice when you get there that you do not consent to any test. Okay? So whether or not I am disappointed in myself for submitting for a job, I don't know yet. I was always unhappy with it, uneasy with it. But again, I crossed out that part where they asked permission for me to use my genetic material for testing and research. I crossed that out. I put void. So the contract, and again, all the world revolves on contract law. Even in the Constitution, it says Congress shall make no law that supersedes contract. So contract law is king. So I crossed that out. Now, if I hadn't looked, here, look at this thing. If I hadn't looked, there's a box that you're supposed to check. If they said put your address in here and sign it. That's what she told me. And a lot of people, especially when you're going to work on a TV show or something, you're just so happy to book that job. You just fill it in and just sign, real quick, boom, boom. Even ethnicity, where it said ethnicity, I left it blank. She's like, you forgot this. And I said, no, I don't. There's certain questions I'm not going to answer. There's no point in me answering it. It's an unnecessary question. Any question that is not relevant should not be answered. You should keep it to yourself. And I answer as little of questions as I absolutely need to. So, let's get into my experience. It was very interesting, and wait till you hear what this nurse says about false tests. It's very interesting. By the way, I will tell you, in 24 hours, I already got my test back. It's negative. Last quick interjection, just wanted to let you know, when I first was contacted about doing the test, I told them, obviously I didn't want to do it, and they said you absolutely must, because they will not be issued insurance unless, basically SAG will not take the liability of insurance unless everyone is tested. And of course the production doesn't want to bear the liability of the insurance, so they want to let SAG take the liability. And so they said you must be tested, and then I strongly adamantly said I didn't want to do a nose swab. I've heard about oral swabs, why can't we do an oral swab? And from the top down, at the beginning they were giving me a lot of pushback. They didn't want to do it, didn't want to do it, didn't want to do it. And then they have a specific COVID coordinator now who will come in, and he's the one that really delegates things. And I asked him, I said, I'm very uncomfortable with a nose swab. I don't like anything going into my body in areas that don't normally go into my body. So he contacted them, got a hold of them, and they said it would be okay. He said, do not advertise it. Don't let people, don't advertise it. Just, it's a special for you. So I think that's funny how they really, really want to keep it on the down low for some reason. But I'm really appreciative that he accommodated me. And even on the sheet, it says oral pharyngea, nasal pharyngea, and then nasal. I don't know what the difference between nasal and nasal pharyngea is, but she had crossed out, or she had X'd nasal. So I don't know what that is, and of course RNA blood. So anyway, it was pretty unusual, but we got to the oral swab, which ended up being very easy. And here's a video.
Hey guys, I'm heading to my test now. I hope everybody is doing wonderful out there. I'm sorry to let down some of the people that strongly feel I shouldn't get the test. I agree. I really don't think I should get the test, but I've got to say, it's my last chance to be able to make any money in the entertainment world and experience things. So I'm going to the test, and I'm meeting her at a house where they're doing a shoot. So production has set this up in a rush because they want the animal trainers to have us for a rehearsal soon. I don't by any means agree with this. I don't submit to this. I'm not, I don't even know if I believe. I think we all have honestly, I think we all have the coronavirus in us. I think that's just the way it is. And the poorer your immune system is, the more it can be detected. So, I'll be honest with you, I'm not 100% sure how this quote-unquote virus would jump from person to person, accept that that's what they say, and we all know that we don't believe what they say because they're full of. So I'm on a meter, and I'm going to show you guys how it goes down. And yeah, let's see how it goes. You have to get a test for any shoot that's going on, if it's any size production anyway. So somebody asked, Ceci Hoops asked me to record. Oh, there she is. Sorry. To record the event. So I think the nurse just saw me, and I'm pretty sure she's going to, I think she's going to come up to my car. I feel like, anyway. So they told me to wear a mask, whatever. Just roll my window down, and this way you guys can see what she does. I have a feeling. Dancing on the ceiling. Hello.
Hi.
How's it going?
Good, how are you?
I'm fantastic.
So I don't have a barcode sticker from you, so I need you to fill this form out for me, please.
Okay.
And,
Okay. Fulgent. Huh? Alright. No. Back this.
no, you can fold it if you need to. Yeah, so I just need you to fill out this top part.
Okay.
And then a signature and date at the bottom for me, please.
Genetic testing. I give permission to Fulgent Genetics to perform genetic testing as described. Genetic testing?
It's the COVID testing. It's not genetic testing. It's just for the COVID
But it
testing.
says genetic testing.
That's the form they give me. I'm not I'm not responsible for the form.
I also give permission for my specimen and clinical information to be used in D. I give my permission to Fulgent Genetics.
I'll be right back. I'm going to grab my
Yes,
phone,
yeah,
okay?
I'm going to read this for a second. I give my permission to Fulgent Genetics to perform genetic testing as described. I also give permission for my specimen and clinical information to be used in de-identified studies at Fulgent and for publication if appropriate. My name or other personal identifying information will not be used in or linked to the research of any studies or publication. More information is available at Fulgent Genetics. Okay, that's underneath my information. There's a box I can check that says opt out of research. Fuck yeah, opt out of research. Opt out of research. That's insane. So she has nasal crossed already. That's wrong. So I may need a different sheet from her. Let me ask her real quick. Please hold. Hey, dude, man. What's up, buddy? All right, so I'm gonna cross out nasal, and we're gonna do oral pharyngeal. That's my good boy, huh? So the other options they have are nasal pharyngeal oral being pharyngeal, nasal, and RNA. So I guess the RNA maybe is a blood sample. So I guess I won't show everybody since I'm writing my private information on here. Okay. Okay, so I see.
Could I possibly get my pen back too, please?
Oh,
It's right there.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
You didn't fill this out. And then ethnicity, you just don't want to put that?
Well, it said it was already marked on there. That's why I didn't mark it.
Oh, okay. Yes, some of these.
And then
ones
no,
are
I don't give any questions that
Okay.
aren't really necessary.
So this right here, basically it's not genetic testing. This is a form that we have to have you fill out because your information wasn't received in time for you to get a barcode. Okay? Did you do an online form?
No.
Or no? Yeah. So the reason why we get this form filled, it's strictly for the COVID testing. There's no genetic testing, nothing else, just the COVID testing. Okay?
Yeah, that's
Just so you're not worried about it.
well, and luckily I've studied contracts, so I know how to.
Yeah. No
you know,
worries.
that's
And
why I did that.
Yeah. When is your
Um,
birthday? Because I need to put it on your label.
Yeah.
Okie dokie. Just making sure this is correct. Right. And your company has your address and stuff. Whoever set this up for you. Okay. Perfect.
Sure.
No problem.
So are these just regular old swabs, or are these special swabs?
These are special swabs. So the only thing is that these are actually meant for nasopharyngeal. I mean, we rarely do oral pharyngeal, and just as an FYI, it's not going to be as accurate as a nasopharyngeal. So there is a likelihood that if they get like a false positive, you'll have to get tested again. Okay?
Yeah, none of them are accurate.
This one, nasopharyngeal, is probably the most accurate because that's what we do in the hospitals as well. So they have to have at least a 98% accuracy for them to be used on a regular basis. So the oral pharyngeal, even in the hospital, is hardly ever used. Stuff in my hands. So
I
I've got
have
to
the
do
wrapper when you're done with it.
the wrapper.
Yeah, of the swab.
Oh,
I just want the
will.
information on the wrap.
I'll get rid of it. You can take a photo of it, but I need to throw everything away.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
can't give it to you because now it's going to be contaminated. So you can take
Okay.
a photo of it
Yeah. Here, let me just.
while I have it.
Yeah. So that is the swab. Nest Specimen Collection Swab. Okay, interesting. Thank you, I appreciate it.
Yeah, sure. Alrighty, so the swab is just going to be the side of your mouth, inside your cheeks, okay?
Okay.
Okay, that's it.
Okay. I felt like you got some good stuff. And so you would, the swabs are basically the same whether you do oral or nasal.
No, the nasal swab. Well, you mean like the actual?
Yeah, the actual
Yeah,
device.
the actual swab, the Q-tip part. Yes.
Okay.
So it's the same, but like I said, the nasopharyngeal is what these are actually made for, and not oral pharyngeal.
Mm-hmm.
Which is the nasal is a lot more accurate. Yeah.
I'm curious, why would that be in your knowledge? Why would it be more accurate?
Because the virus sits in the nasopharyngeum, which is all the way in the back of your nose. The oral mucosa, because that's continuously replicating because of the spit, you're not always going to find the virus there. Like that back in the nose, that's where it sits and that's where it stays.
Okay.
Yeah, so even when you get your test for the flu is also a nasal swab because that's where the virus sits. So,
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the main
I've
reason.
I've been tested for things before. I've never
Yeah.
had a nasal test. It's always been
Yeah.
oral.
Flu test is going to be nasal. The flu test is never an oral test.
I'm not sure I ever had yeah. I think it was more like streptococcus.
Strep is always going to be
Yeah.
in the throat because that's nasopharyngeal. So it's
Right.
gonna be, so it won't be oral, it'll be in the throat.
Right.
Yeah. All good?
Thank you so
All
much.
right,
I really
no
appreciate
worries.
it.
Bye.
All right, bye-bye. So they scraped both sides of my mouth. Done. Now the question is, what's the test come back as? So, she was lovely. She was really, really nice. I was, very nice of her. So, I'm distracted. Sorry. You know. So on the test, and I took a picture of it so I can show you. Well, I guess I wrote void through it, but I read it to you. That was, if you don't check that box on there, it would have you have to opt out of it. Otherwise, you're already giving them permission. So it is very important that anytime you get any piece of paper from anything, it is a contract. What you are signing is a contract. Every piece of paper that you ever sign is a contract. Just remember that. You need to learn how to read thoroughly contracts and practice. The more you practice, the more savvy you become catching things like that. If I were not to read the small print, it was really small print, and if I didn't read it, then they would be able to do whatever they want with my specimen, and I am not okay with them doing whatever they want with my specimen. So we'll see if it comes back. I tried to make an appointment with another Quest Diagnostics to do another test right after this, but as I was reading last night, it turns out they don't do the oral swab. They only take blood, and I really don't feel like going to have blood taken. Plus, it's not going to be the same test. If they did the same test, then we could see if one came up positive, one came up negative. You know what I mean? If it was either way, it is important to read your paperwork. I X'd out that paragraph and I wrote void in there, and then I took a picture of it, and I'll show you guys the picture. So yeah, it's just really important. And even on the paperwork I sent to the production company, I also I sign all rights reserved, without prejudice, non-assumpsit. Basically you're reserving all your rights. No matter what they say on there, you're reserving all your rights. And you'll notice also on that contract, they had this signature in a box. And according to contract law, anything written in a box technically doesn't exist. So it's funny that they would box their own contract. That part I find unusual. But it's done now. I don't feel comfortable necessarily with it, other than to say that the vaccination's on the way, and this, literally might be one of our kind of going away. Give me a baby. Be one of our going away gifts to the world, because I will not be getting a vaccination at all. No way. I will, listen, I grew up on the farm. I know how to work a farm, raising horses, training horses, cattle. I go and harvest half of his food myself with a knife and a bucket, and I go down to a farm and I get dirty. So it's not that I don't know how to survive. I'll be just fine if I'm not in the entertainment world. I love entertaining people, and I hope that I can keep continuing. I think there is a way that, I'll be able to keep doing online stuff. To what capacity, I don't know. I mean, I'm not real savvy with the marketing part of it, and I do know that I have one more job. It's a private job, doing a Trump impersonation. So I do Trump, obviously, and I'm gonna be doing Biden soon too. So been really working on that hootenanny. And I gotta work on it though, because I haven't practiced biting. But, you know, this might be our last little hoorah for the world. And dude, man, just came through an incredible surgery, double knee surgery, and then his eye swelled up. So we just had these pretty incredible challenges that we've managed to get through, and now we get to perform together. And he's going to be skateboarding, riding his motorcycle. So it's going to be really, really neat what we're doing. And, you know, so the testing part of it is ridiculous and awful as it is, as much as I am against it. You know, I feel it's the least dangerous thing I can do and still work a couple jobs before my whole life changes, you know, for good. Because it's coming. It's coming. We did a long 2-mile stair run this morning, so he got his good exercise. And now we're gonna go on about our day. So I gotta do some modifications to his motorcycle. I gotta put some tread on his plastic wheels because he's gonna be going up and down some hills. And when we tried to drive it the other day up a hill with some dirt, plastic spun out. So yeah. Thank you guys as always for your support, and your comments are really appreciated, especially during this tough time. Like, you know, I know it's disappointing to some of you guys to hear that I actually took a test. I'm disappointed. You know, but you know, I asked around a lot of people that care about me and people that have been, you know, very supportive of everything I do, and they seem to, the general consensus is it's just a test, you know, don't worry about it. It's not like, you know, it's not like they're injecting anything into your body. So thank you guys all for your comments to kind of help me find my way to do this so that I can work, because I may have blown it off if I didn't have the support of my community around me. So I'll keep you guys posted. It'll be a fun shoot, really fun shoot. I mean, it's a huge production. They're building this massive stage for us to, you know, do our performance on. A giant tunnel that's in the shape of a bone, and so it's going to be really, really neat. He's going to be skateboarding down a ramp, which is something we got to do. We got to build a makeshift ramp to start practicing on. So yeah, everybody stay tuned. We'll have more stuff for you coming soon. All right, including Sui Juris 101. Sui Juris. The word sovereign has gotten a bad rap because people, you know, the shitheads who are the trolls have attached citizen to it, kind of like conspiracy theorist, you know, not conspiracy researcher. So they attach another word to it and they degrade it. So once you realize, if you look at the definition of sovereign, it's sui juris. If you look at the definition of sui juris, it's sovereign. So let's go with the original dead language in Latin, and let's use that definition. It means the same thing, and it doesn't scare people away. So it's written in law. It is so many case law that has cited that we are sui juris. We are our own man or woman. We are, it's of your own, of one's own. That is who we are, if we choose to be. And we got to uncontract, you know. So I'm going to do, my good buddy Matt over at Quantum of Conscious suggested I do a little 101 on, you know, basically what I've learned in the steps I'm taking. And so I will do a little one-on-one on what got me started and where I'm at, I guess, and why not to be afraid of that word. Okay, all right, I'll talk to you guys very soon. Thank you. So I'm checking back in real quick because something just kind of, I was thinking about. So I asked a lot of questions, right? And I said, well, why would it be why would the nose be more accurate than the cheek, right? And her answer was, well, because the virus gets back there and sits back in the nose, whereas in the cheek, you swallow and drink and it gets recycled a lot, so it may not be as present. And she said, so the oral is not as accurate. So I'm thinking to myself, what the fuck are you talking about? It either detects the virus or it doesn't detect the virus. Because she said, you might get a false positive and then have to come back in because you did the oral. What are you talking about? Either it detects the virus or it doesn't detect the virus. Why would taking it from my cheek possibly give it a false positive, but taking it from my nose wouldn't give it a false positive? Does that make any sense to anybody else out there? Anybody? What is going on here? Honestly, I wish I would have thought about it, but I was kind of just asking because had I thought about it, it probably would have come off argumentative. So I was trying to be very nice because she was being nice, and I was 10 minutes late. So shame on me. Honestly, I just kind of blocked it out of my head, and I almost forgot. I just remembered at the last minute. Oh gosh, I got to go do this thing. So I almost forgot. But so yeah, that doesn't make any sense. Taking it from your cheek, oh, you might get a false positive. How could I get a false positive? Isn't the test designed to either detect or not detect the virus? So how would you get a false positive? That doesn't make any sense. How would getting it from the nose be more accurate? If the virus is in there, then the virus is in there. It doesn't make... Okay, so that's just... If anybody can answer that one, I would like to hear from you. All right.